Alright, good afternoon everybody. Today we'll be discussing Chapter 33, The Great War, the World in Upheaval. I focus mostly on Germany during this paper. So the unification of Germany in 1871. In 1815, the Germanic states had just been reinstated by the Congress of Vienna into the German Confederation, which was under the control of the Austrian Empire. The Kingdom of Prussia tried to create a union with the Germanic states against the disapproval from the Austrian Empire. The Austrian Empire didn't want to have a unified Germany because they feared that it could become stronger. Many revolts took place across the German states. This led to the talk of a possible united Germany, excluding Austria. In 1862, King Wilhelm was the King of Prussia, and he appointed Otto von Bismarck on September 23rd as the new minister, president, and foreign minister. Then here's just a couple pictures of Germany before they were unified and after. So more on the unification of Germany. As a result of the Danish-Prussian War, the Austro-Prussian victory earned them the land of Schleswig, which would be governed by both nations. Bismarck accused the Austrians of causing trouble in this newly acquired land and ordered a siege of the land. This marked the creation of the North German Confederation, a collection of all Germanic states except the French supporting ones. The Franco-Prussian War was then started in 1870 because the French Emperor Napoleon III demanded territories for him to stay neutral during the Austro-Prussian War. Bismarck used this as a chance to persuade the French supporting states to join the German Confederation. The war ended when Prussia captured Paris, the capital of the Second French Army. And here's just a little flowchart of leading up to the unification of Germany, starting off with the German states, former German Confederation in 1815. Ultimately, when Wilhelm II succeeded Frederick William to the throne. Then there's Otto von Bismarck becoming the prime minister. Then the Seven Weeks' War was declared by Prussia. There's the Franco-Prussian War, which led to the unification of Germany. German leadership during the war. Leading up to the war. Otto von Bismarck, as said before, he was appointed by King Wilhelm I. Bismarck was the leader of most affairs leading to the unification of Germany. During this time, Germany's relations to the great powers was diminishing, and the European balance was all messed up because of this new German Empire. Bismarck was also helped by Roon and Moltke, who were major contributors in the military portion, with Roon's control over the army and Moltke's military strategies. Bismarck was a leading cause in the acquisitions of the last independent Germanic states and the unifying and expanding of the German Empire. And there's a picture of Otto von Bismarck. Political climate prior to World War I. There were the two agreements between the nations, first with the Triple Alliance, which was composed of Germany and the Austro-Hungarians, and then later joined by the Italians. Then there was the Triple Entente, which was composed of Russia, France, and the United Kingdom. The Triple Alliance had a strong alliance between the German and Austro-Hungarian people because they have many cultural similarities. And then the Triple Entente had the United Kingdom's control over the sea, and they were able to attack from multiple positions because they had Russia and the UK and France. The German strategy leading into the war, they had the Schlieffen Plan, which was created by Field Marshal Alfred von Schlieffen, the chief of the Imperial Army, German General Staff. Germany planned to quickly defeat the French so they could put all their focus on the front against the Russians. They had planned to bait out the French army in Belgium, knowing that the French would attack through Lorraine. Then they would have their armies attacking from behind to cut them off and surround them, preventing any further advancement by the French. Then just continually outflanking the French and breaking up their army into smaller portions to be easily picked off. On the Western Front, Germany planned to use a modified version of the Schlieffen Plan. They wanted to circle the French army and trap it on the German border. On the Western Front is where all the most important and deciding battles took place. Started off with Germany invaded Belgium and started executing the people living there and destroying the villages. This really angered the French and Russians and made them want to attack Germany. And French deployed 5 armies to capture Alsace-Lorraine as part of the French Plan XVII. Germany was slowly retreating, but causing huge losses in the French army, really helping aid to the Schlieffen Plan. And here's just the Schlieffen Plan, how they plan to attack France, coming at them from several areas. A couple of significant battles on the Western Front. Start off with the First Battle of the Marne. With Germany closing in on Paris, the French and British troops were able to make Germany retreat. Then Germany was retreated to the Aisne River and established their standing ground for the next 3 years. German-occupied land contained large portion of French iron, steel, and coal industries, which caused a huge blow in the French's industry. Next, there was the Battle of the Somme. This was known as the largest battle on the Western Front. 1 million men were killed out of the 3 million that took part. And this battle is when the first tank was used in battle. Then they also forced German forces back and gained land onto German-occupied territory. Next, we have the Battle of Verdun, the longest battle to happen on the Western Front. The Germans wanted to take Verdun because of its strategic positioning, and use this as a trap to force heavy losses upon the Entente's forces. This battle resulted in a German loss, losing most of the land that they had just captured. And then we have the Battle of Ypres. All sides had signed the Hague Conventions, which prohibited the use of chemical weapons in warfare. But the Germans didn't really care, I guess, because the Germans released a cloud of chlorine gas onto the battlefield. But the Germans were not planning on this being so successful, so they were unable to capitalize on when they used the chlorine gas, which caused the enemies to retreat. And then after all this, Germany realized that they would not be able to win this war by using only military means. There's a picture of the first tank that was used during the World War I. And then the Germany opposing forces had gas masks to counteract the chlorine gas that they had brought. Then on the Eastern Front, Russia planned to send 4 armies into East Prussia, but it was changed when they thought Austria-Hungary could be a threat. So Russia sent 2 armies into Prussia and 2 into Austria-Hungary. German forces were able to deal heavy losses to the Russian army in Galicia and in Poland, forcing Russia to retreat. Russia had troubles back home with revolts, which allowed the German and Austro-Hungarian forces to defeat the Russians and Romanians. Some significant battles on the Eastern Front. It all started with the Russian invasion of East Prussia on August 17, 1914. Russia was able to take Galicia by the end of 1914. This defeat caused the German army to send more troops to the Eastern Front, creating a new 9th Army. The German forces were able to keep Prussia at a safe distance, but Austria had lost Przemysl. Then the Second Battle of the Masurian Lakes. German and Austro-Hungarian troops were working together under one command. And then Russia had been pushed out of Poland, losing the chance to invade Germany or Austria-Hungary. With the German and Austro-Hungarian troops working under one command and already being connected with the cultural means, this just made them a much stronger force and just people you do not want to mess with. There's a picture of the Russians coming in. Continue more with more significant battles on the Eastern Front. Start off with the Brusilov offensive. This was a tactical assault by Russia against the Austro-Hungary in Galicia. Brusilov focused on preparation to help win this battle, suggesting that they build their trench closer to the enemy trench and to attack on a wide front. This worked really well for Russia at the start because they had so many people. But then this was considered probably the most successful attack by the Russians. But then they started to lose power after the supply lines were not kept up efficiently, and they were not able to keep up this numbers of soldiers they had throughout the courses of the battles. Romania had also joined in on the Eastern Front on the Russian side after the Russians had promised the Transylvania if they were to become victorious. But with the joining of Romania, Germany gained many strategic changes, and this allowed German troops to be mobilized east to help stop the Russian forces and to prevent them from invading Austro-Hungary or Germany. Russia exits the war. Despite winning many victories during the 1916 Brusilov offensive, Russia was suffering heavy losses and casualties. Led by Vladimir Lenin, the Bolshevik October Revolution toppled the Russian monarchy, creating a communist government in place of the monarchy. Vladimir Lenin sought for a quick peace with the Central Powers and signed the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk in 1918, which ended hostilities involving Russia. After the Russians pulled out of the war, Germany was able to transfer large amounts of troops to the Western Front. Now that Germany was no longer fighting on two fronts, they were able to concentrate the majority of their efforts on the Western Front. Causes of the end. In 1917, the United States entered the war fighting alongside the Allied powers. In 1915, a German U-boat sank the RMS Lusitania, which led to the deaths of 128 Americans on board. The United States also intercepted a German telegram that urged Mexico to invade the United States in January 1917. In April of that year, the United States declared war on Germany. The arrival of fresh troops and American supplies allowed the Allied powers to be more aggressive towards the Central Powers. Despite several German offensives made in early 1918, they were repelled by Allied forces. Germany was subjected to several defeats, and the Allies' summer offensive routed the German forces. On November 11, 1918, they signed an armistice with the Allied powers, calling for an immediate ceasefire. Here's a picture of all the Americans coming in, helping. Treaty of Versailles. On June 28, 1919, the signing of the Treaty of Versailles officially brought World War I to a close. The Treaty of Versailles included President Woodrow Wilson's 14 points, which called for the creation of the League of Nations. The League of Nations was intended to be an international peacekeeping organization preventing war and promoting democratic resolutions. The treaty also held Germany responsible for the war and required that they pay reparations to France and Great Britain. Germany was also subject to numerous economic sanctions, as well as having to cede certain territories. The size of their military was reduced greatly, and were forced to renounce sovereignty from many of their colonial holdings. Here's everyone signing for the Treaty of Versailles. And that's my presentation. Thank you, and have a good day.